Taking a little while.
Yeah.
And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
And this is Dan. We are both real estate agents who happen to be bearded, which make us perfect hosts for a show called the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. So we're super excited to have all of you here. If you could take a minute and share the show. We always can't put that in the comments because, we get depressed by Facebook. I guess it's suppressed. I'm not depressed. Facebook can't hold me down.
We're oppressed.
Yes, we are oppressed by Facebook.
Yeah.
Also, if you're listening on YouTube and Facebook, you can comment live, and then we can display that comment on the screen, and then we can talk about you and your comment. If you are watching us live, you can also join the conversation in Clubhouse. We have a live room going there. There will be times throughout the show that we can add the Clubhouse audio, and you can literally comment live. Now, the show in Clubhouse is about 15 to 20 seconds ahead of the show on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're doing the thing like where you're watching a Homer broadcast, but you also want to listen to the audio, you may be a little bit confused about what's happening. So rely on Clubhouse. It's a little faster. You can also just click our faces if you are in Clubhouse. Well, I guess my face, and follow us, hit the bell and click always. That way you'll be alerted to the next show. We have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. One of the topics is, now that Zillow is a brokerage, can real estate agents, specifically realtors, talk about Zillow anymore? There was a couple of emails that went out from some of the boards around the country that was saying, hey guys, hush, hush. So we're going to dive into that and see if that's the case. We'll also kind of piggyback on that conversation. And I have a larger question. Is the don't talk about other real estate agents or brokers. If there was a bad news bear real estate agent and broker out there, is that protectionism in the industry, protecting those that maybe shouldn't be so protected? So we'll get into that larger discussion. We'll also talk about the FHFA that extends the forbearance period to 15 months. Mortgage demand is dropping because interest is going up. So we're going to talk about that. 1 in 5 millennials have given up on home ownership. We're going to dive into that conversation. So if you are a millennial, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, especially if you're a millennial real estate agent working with other millennials. We want to know what your crew is saying. And Google, actually, I said your crew. I'm like the oldest possible millennial.
You're it. You're the first one.
The line. Yeah, everybody has to draw the line somewhere, and I am the line. Why Google and Facebook are funding a pre-fab home startup,
and not pre-fabulous. They don't mean pre-fabulous.
No, that's different. So Google and Facebook are investing into a prefab home startup. They're getting into the real estate industry here. Real estate is your sex now. That's right, millennials. We're on you today. We're going to talk about the SNL sketch and people's obsession with Zillow. I think that's it. I think that's all we have for the rundown. We just did the whole rundown. If you're watching us on YouTube after the show, we're going to have, what are they called? Hyperlinks, which are just time codes in the comments. And you could zoom to whatever article that you're really interested in. So if you're watching this later and you're like, I really want to know about 1 in 5 millennials giving up on home ownership, then just look down to the comments and click on that and you'll zoom right to it. Unless you enjoy our lovely banter, then you can hang out.
Right.
We also have, let's see, Melissa Marsh. She says, we don't quit. She's a millennial.
She's smack dab in the middle of millennialism.
That's right. Christina M. Smallhorn is joining us on the Facebook chat, who has 10 million views on YouTube. So way to go, Christina, on that.
Is that all, by the way, side note, is that all real estate related content or just funny stuff?
I think it is. No, that's her real estate channel.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure. Melissa Mars says there's no crying in baseball, right? Christina, she says prefab homes is my thing. Yes. I would love to have you stick around for this article if you're not too busy. It's going to be the 4th one that we cover today. If not, whenever we do the replay, please chime in on that.
By the way, not to interrupt, but we do have 10 million views as well, but we've also posted 10 million videos. So
that's right. We have posted we got most of our views are on Facebook, and then Facebook for whatever reason is kind of suppressing it. So if y'all could share it, that would really help us. And yes, she said she's an all real estate related channel.
That is awesome.
So if this is your first time joining the show, let's say we have some people maybe listening on Clubhouse, or maybe there's some folks that are in the audience of the YouTubes that haven't commented yet. What would you tell them our show is actually all about, Dan?
Well, when I first met Ray, it was about 4 years ago here on the interwebs. I had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man in real estate, right?
Right.
And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
My biceps.
If you've never met him in real life, he's 4'2". He's little.
I'm such a little guy.
He's little.
Yeah, that's not true. None of that's true.
No, that's not true. Well, actually, I knew Ray when I've met him twice in real life, but obviously we've done 150 shows or whatever together, 134 or something.
100. Yeah, this is episode 134.
134. We've only met twice in real life, but we're still best friends. It's okay. But I knew he's going to be big. When I met him, I was like, he's almost my height, but almost bigger. Yeah,
that's right. I'm like a twofer. I'm like a twofer for Dan. I'm almost his height, but double his size.
Yes, I'm tall, but I'm single track. I'm very into mountain biking. Right, I'm single track, and Ray is the fire roads.
Nice.
Anyway, he had an actual format for a show, a layout for a show, which is the same format we use today. But what I also noticed is that he loves giving value up front to not only his clients, but just to humans. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
There you go. And one of the things we believe being more is actually all about is knowing what the heck is going on in our industry, which is why we do the show in the first place. It's for people that are in our industry and also consumers that are interested in real estate. We're going to get into some of these headlines and go into depth and have a great discussion on it. And hopefully, if you're in the clubhouse or if you're watching live, we'd love to add you to the conversation. So just raise your hand or make a comment. Just like Christina said, highlighting the headlines about real estate that affects realtors. That's what I would say your show's about. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
You ready to get into these headlines?
Yeah, I can't stop picturing a 4'2" Ray though. Just like if we met and I went, oh my God, Ray.
Oh,
hey. I would literally be more than 2 feet taller than you.
I didn't grow until like high school. I was like 5'6" until my senior year of high school, in which I went to like 6'3". So I still feel like a little guy.
I'm fine, dude. Right. And then a little.
Hey, this is no joke. Does this happen to you too, Dan? Because I know you're tall. Like I'll take a group photo with my friends.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at it and go, holy crap, I'm huge.
I do the same thing. And my head, I have a very big head. So it's always very like just in the photo and everyone else is just like normal size. And I'm like, yeah.
Tall guys out there, they know the struggle. When you look at your family photo and go, I must be adopted. Yeah. All right. So let's get into these headlines.
All right. And by the way, I am going to have puppy issues today. You had to struggle with the puppy last week. I'm going to struggle with puppy issues today.
Well, if we don't hurry, like he literally has an hour that he can hold his bladder. So if we go over an hour, he's going to start whining.
Mine's good. He just likes to bark and do crazy things. So there you go.
Your bladder likes to bark and do crazy things?
Yes.
All right. So let's get into the first article. And like I said, if you're in Clubhouse tuning in and you want to comment on some of these articles, just raise your hand. We'll bring you up and then I'll reference you and then you can comment on some of these articles too. So mortgage demand drops as interest rates hit a 3-month high. So this article comes to us from CNBC. Rates are moving up and application volume fell 4.1% overall. Now, that also includes the refi and purchase activity. And that's according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. So the question, like, oh no, is this the end of the road for buyers? No, not hardly. Mortgage applications were still 17% higher than a year ago. Now, for reference, that's one of the lowest. That's one of the lowest higher than last year's that we've referenced in a long time.
Wait.
Yeah, I know.
That the lowest higher than a year ago. Yeah, because remember at one point they were like 45% higher than a year ago.
Yes.
Now it's the lowest higher than a year ago we've reported in a while.
That we've reported in a long time. Now, I think like 2 years ago when we were doing the show, it was like 6% higher than last year. And we were all like, whoa, that's really cool. Right. But now it's 17%. And we're like, oh, that's so low. All right. So here's a quote from Joel Kahn. Not that Kahn. He's purchase applications cooled the first week of February, but home buyers are still very active. The average purchase loan size continued to increase, reaching another survey high of 402,200. As higher price segments of the home market continues to perform well. Now, here's the key. The higher price segment of the homes have more inventory. So the people that are searching are able to land those homes. While the lower segments that we've talked about ad nauseum over the last 2 years, since the fall of 2016, it's been tight in the low end.
That's a great movie, by the way, The Fall of 2016.
That would be right. So the low end of the market is incredibly slim, and that's forcing first-time home buyers to the sidelines. The number of homes for sale were 43% lower than last year, according to Realtor.com.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, homes sold on an average of 10 days faster than they were last year as well.
Jeez. And we got to remember, these stories are nationally. So in my market, the average days on market is 3 days. Like, it's insane.
Right.
But in Ray's, which is a traditionally slower market, they usually have 4 to 6 months inventory much more often. I mean, remember when we started the show, your average days on market was 40 years. I mean,
yeah, the average in our area was like 60, and my personal average was less than 30, and that was like a big deal.
Yeah, and I always remember that because that's how you marketed. Like, hey, here's everyone else they're not doing anything wrong. That's just the average. I'm better than average.
Yep.
And now, what's your average? Isn't it like 22 days or something?
It's like the market average right now is in the 20s. My personal average is like in the hours now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I'm sure that's happening a lot to a lot of the agents around the country. We'd love to hear your comments if the same inventory struggles you're finding. And I can't tell. Melissa Mara, she said, I'm just short. That it's how it is. I don't know if she's talking about herself or the inventory, but both are probably short in her area, if I recall.
Yeah.
I
don't know, because when did we cover this? A week or two ago with the average mortgage. Again, remember, nationally it's now $402,000. So this isn't California is too expensive, New York's too expensive, Little Rock, Arkansas is too expensive. It's just, those never go together. But anyway, this is a national thing, and the story that I'm going to cover later, it's a national housing crisis, not California, not New York, not Colorado or Central Colorado or whatever.
Let me see if Caleb is by his mic, because I want to bring up the Clubhouse folks so you guys can kind of see how this works too. So Caleb, if you were by, yep, he turned his mic off. All right, what is going on in your market? What's happening?
Well, thanks for the unmic, and my first time here as a member of your room on Clubhouse, the Bearded Men of Real Estate show, and just listening to you both visit. The last comment was, I just went, oh yeah, that, because we're north of California. I'm on the Southern Oregon, in that area, right on the border of California, and I guess that's going to be really related to the California exodus and the market crunch there. But everybody I talk to that's moving there, which they're moving to our area from other places than California. Everybody's in this situation, and so we're a little town of 30,000 in our town and 80,000 in our county, and it's a retirement location on the river, and there are tons of people moving there, and it's not exactly cheap if you're from there and you're trying to buy a house, but it's a lot cheaper than other major metro areas. So we've got that additional crunch in our market, is that people are cashing out big elsewhere and coming to our market, and that's squeezing the prices up, and locals are having to have a harder time doing what they need to with their housing situation. That's where we're at in Southern Oregon.
Well, can I ask, before I address the exodus from California,
as a Californian
that actually works in California, but sorry, I'm snarky. I don't mean to be. It just happens when people are fleeing from California. I hear that story a lot, by the way. But anyway, I wanted to ask. So, and it's Caleb.
Yep, it's Caleb.
Caleb, cool. What was your average days on market? Kind of how we covered with Ray, like before, I guess, before Rona, and then kind of, and go back like 2 years averaging. Was it kind of mellow at 77 days and now it's 4? Like, what was that looking like?
I do 20 plus deals a year. So, and I provide for my family. I'm the only income earner in our family. So it's not like I'm sitting on my hands, but I don't follow days on market. I know the feel of things. And 2 years ago, at the turn of 2019, prices were up, but it wasn't crazy like this. There were enough houses. The rental market is a different situation. That's been bad for like 5 years. But now, really, it hit in August. I couldn't place a buyer without 8 other
Right.
offers, 10 other offers,
Yeah,
and we made 5 offers before we'd get something, and we had to do something creative to win it, and that has created the bigger the nice thing of when you're representing a seller, which is less days on market. And I don't know what that
Right.
is compared to 2 years ago, but it's certainly much less.
Much different.
They're falling out of escrow though, because I think you're getting buyers are doing whatever they can to get a house, and then they fall out once or twice because of that.
Yeah.
So you do end up getting a few more days on market that way, but it's still much less than it was. I'm sorry, I just can't give you an exact comparison of numbers.
No, it's all good.
So you're seeing an influx. I wonder if you're seeing an influx from people that are still working in California but kind of moving up that way. I would imagine. But what was your question, Dan?
Yeah. But I was going to say, and I'm kind of joking about the Exodus thing, but just that you can work remotely, from anywhere. So why not go to a sleepy little town that's on the water and work, from there in California, kind of thing.
Right.
But no, it's interesting. You make the point about you're good. My daughter's ducking down. I'm like, you're good. We're a family. We're a family show. It's okay.
That's right. A family show. We're all family in this show.
Yeah. The interesting point you make about having to write multiple offers and, things going so quickly, because, I have a couple clients from out of state that are moving here, that are in the $1 million range and a little bit up. And I'm still losing out to people going well above appraisal. And then they're not appraising. That's the thing, is they're not appraising.
Yeah.
They're off by like 50 grand and they're not appraising. And then they're falling out of escrow. So it's interesting that he in Southern Oregon kind of notes that as well.
Yeah, we do have we have a couple more commenters. Mary, I didn't know if you wanted to say something about that topic specifically. If so, just flash your mic. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to bring Mary up now. Mary, tell us where you're from and what's your comment on your inventory.
So I am in the heart of the Exodus. I am in San Diego, California, North County. Been in the business 16 years. And in years past, about 90% of our listings and sellers were moving up, moving down, moving around within either their neighborhood, the community within San Diego County. And right now it has been a complete shift where I would say 90% of our sellers are leaving the state. And the buyers, we're seeing the migration from the Bay Area and Los Angeles coming to San Diego. I would say about 65% of the offers coming in on our listings are people from the Bay Area. They're coming to San Diego for price and weather. And of course, they think our homes are cheap. And it's really driving that price appreciation quickly because of our extremely low inventory. So I just wanted to add a little bit of color onto that there is a mass exodus. And I believe California's governor, we call him Governor Gruesome, but I believe Governor Newsom was just named Realtor of the Year in Texas.
Yeah, I did see that. That was like the meme going around. Was Governor Newsom was the Realtor of the Year for Texas, all the Texas influx. But Howard is in Israel and he joins us in Clubhouse. So this is going to be really cool. So Howard can actually give us an audio comment all the way from Israel. Before you do, Howard, I want to read David Fresquez. He says, most sellers today need brokers who will educate them on other real estate products to build wealth versus buying a bigger primary with their equity. If they actually don't need a bigger house, I think there's totally there's a different spin that you could take on this thing as a whole. So I would totally agree with that. But let me go to Howard. Howard, I'm going to bring you up in Clubhouse, man.
I think I only did half your sentence, so I got you, so I should open the microphone. Am I right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. First of all, good evening, my dear friends. It's 8:30 in the evening in my part of the world, and I think the inventory is a global thing. It's a Corona, sorry about that, Dan. A Rona problem. I'm finding that the market that I want to work with, which is secondhand homes, apartments. There's just enough good product on the market, not for the buyers. Sellers are just holding off and they're just waiting and they're not too sure what to do about it. So there's an inventory challenge for me. Just don't have anything fresh.
That's interesting. So I didn't even think about the world market also being short on inventory for maybe some of the same reasons that people are just waiting to sell. So I guess that means that once the vaccination is maybe worldwide, and once that happens, we should see an increase in the inventory, and maybe that would help solve the inventory crisis as a whole. But even before all of that stuff, we were short on inventory a little bit last year.
Right.
We've been short on inventory in the U.S. I think since the fall of 2016, which would make a good movie. But
this entire show we started the show to fix the inventory problem, and it's only gotten worse. So I apologize.
You know what the problem is? We've just encouraged so many other people to become real estate agents and improve their skills of selling houses that inventory has not really.
Yeah, people look at me and go, "If that dude can be successful." I mean, look at it. He's got a mohawk and a crazy beard and tattoos. If that guy can do this, then
that's right. So speaking of inventory issues, Melissa Mara, she comments on Facebook. She says, I have people going all over the place. Florida, Texas, North Carolina. Buyers are coming from up north, New York, PAs, Pennsylvania, but that's it. Nothing really new. That's kind of how it happened with us too. We're having a massive influx of people in our state. Every now and then I get a referral out, but I've seen way more people come in than the referrals I send out. Because normally I'd send like 10 referrals a year out, which, by the way, I look for BMORE people first. So if you're not in the BMORE contributors, you got to join, because that's where I look first. Then after that, I look for some of the experts in the industry. But okay, so speaking of shortage of inventory, one of the things we talked about in our 2021 prediction show, I guess it was the end of 2020, was if forbearance ends, then that could add a lot of inventory towards the lower end of the market when banks are actually able to foreclose on these homes that they're holding. So Dan, I think the next article, you have an update on that. What's going on with it?
All right, let me just find out where we are in this whole thing. Oh, look, I'm right on it. What do you know? Almost like I was prepared, but never. So FHFA has extended the forbearance period to 15 months. That doesn't mean they're adding 15 months. That means they're adding 3 months. Originally, it was 12 months. So borrowers, and this is from Housing Wire, by the way, borrowers with mortgages backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You could say Fannie Mac and Freddie Mae if you like. I don't think it matters too much. But they may be eligible for an additional forbearance extension of up to 3 months. The Federal Housing Finance Agency announced Tuesday. FHFA forbearance plans initially had a 12-month expiration date. However, the government entity is now allowing borrowers up to 15 months of coverage. Up to 15 months of coverage. According to the agency, eligibility for the extension is limited to borrowers who are on a RONA forbearance plan as of February 28th, 2021. So you would have already had to have started that forbearance plan by that date. The FHFA said other limits may apply to the extension, but did not provide specific detail. Alongside its forbearance announcement, the FHFA also released that the enterprises are extending the moratoriums on single-family foreclosures and real estate-owned evictions until March 31st, 2021. So another month and a half. But I think the REO one is the most interesting chunk of that, because that's kind of what we're all talking about, is when are these things going to hit, right? When is it going to become shadow inventory? And then when is it going to become actual inventory?
Right.
When can they foreclose on these? So that's kind of the biggest one that they're extending that as well. And that is one. Let's see. FHFA's director, Mark Calabria, said the company's recent actions are to, quote unquote, help keep families in their home during the Rona. And by the way, they're not saying the Rona. We don't say the other one because we get tamped down, right?
Right.
It should be noted that for the third month in a row, Mortgage Bankers Association estimated that 2.7 million homeowners are in some form of forbearance. And for almost 4 months, the lender forbearance portfolio volume has hovered between 5 and 6%. That's the longest percentage range that a percentage range has held since the MBA survey began back in May of last year. So it's kind of, remember, there was a lot. Everyone, when you first, let me go back to the other one so I can see you guys. If you just called and mentioned forbearance, you would go into forbearance.
Yeah. So,
but they
let me explain this because I know a lot of the people in Clubhouse are new listeners, and we may have some new listeners on the YouTubes and Facebooks
Yeah.
as well. But whenever forbearance first happened, like I called to find out as a real estate agent, what is it? What is the plan? Because there were people like, oh, at the end, you remember all the real estate agents that were posting like, don't go to forbearance because you'll have to pay it off all at the end.
Right.
And they were acting like people that were going into forbearance were uneducated or ill-informed. When in reality, when I called the bank and asked them how it worked, they already had plans in place to pay it back over time or to add it to the loan amount or to refinance. So they were already trying to figure out that kind of stuff right as this thing happened. But when I called, they asked me if I wanted to be placed on forbearance. And it was just, all I had to do was call. And there were a lot of people that called to find out about it or had asked questions about it that were immediately placed into forbearance. We had a seller. All he did was call and just kind of ask about it, see what it was. He hung up the phone and was put into forbearance, and he didn't know it. So we went to close and they were like, well, you have to clear this forbearance. And he was like, I'm not in forbearance, but he was. And all he did was ask Wells Fargo what in the world was going on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just want to know about it. Boom, you're in but you got foreburned.
Foreburned. Yes. If you have not seen the foreburned clip, we should link that up on it. If you're watching this on the YouTube replay, we'll try to note that. But if not, go to our YouTube.
It'll be a link down below, or I guess that's what they say.
There's a foreburned commercial. I think I put it on. I think I put it on my Instagram too, so you can click my head if you're in Clubhouse. So that's what Dan is referring to. Initially, there were a ton of people launched into forbearance that didn't need to be, and it went down pretty steadily. There wasn't a lot of people moving up in the forbearance until I think it was like November, December. I think we saw a couple of others trickle into it, and the numbers started to trickle back up a little bit.
Yeah, they went up again because it was supposed to be extended, and then they did a new round of lockdowns and kind of not layoffs, but just people being furloughed. There was another round of that, so it went up. But so this is where we expected it to kind of hover, but it went down fairly quickly too. After like a month, it went down by like, okay, we're, I got furloughed for a month, or I got furloughed for 2 weeks, or it's okay. And there was a lot of that coming back, or it was just the people saying, no, I just wanted to know what it is.
Right.
Yeah. And they got foreburned.
So the big question is, how many of those, when will this actually come back on the market? When will these properties actually show up? And
will they show up?
Yeah.
Meaning, are people going to figure this out? We're kind of waiting for the end. Like, okay, then did they get a mortgage, adjustment? Can they refi, or whatever the case is? Right. Or are they going to be foreclosed upon? So that's kind of the thing. Now, the people I know, the agents I know that work in REOs are like, yes, it's good. The market is going to shift and fairly quickly.
Well, Zillow and Redfin at the end of last year were claiming that
you can't talk about Zillow, dude.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We'll get into that. So Z Store and Arfin, who are both realtors now. Just stay tuned. If you're in Clubhouse, join us late, or if you're joining us late on the feed, we'll get into that. Anyway, they were predicting towards the beginning of 2020. They said at the end of 2021 or at the start of 2021, I can't remember which one, there was going to be a heavy buyer's market.
Yeah,
they're all talking about a big buyer's market on the way, and we were like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the next article, because and if you have any millennial friends, tag them. Share this with them, send it to them. If you're watching it on the replay, I want to know what your millennial friends actually think about this. So this article is by Andrea Brambila or Brambila. I don't know which one, but it's on Inman. It says nearly 1 in 5 millennials have given up on home ownership.
Just stop after giving up.
So the big question is why? Because we believe, a lot of real estate agents believe, that it's still like the American dream, right? So why have millennials given up? Well, the big problem is down payment. Hey, Matt, producer Matt, can you show the chart at the bottom of this article, or towards the bottom of it? The majority of millennial renters have no down payment savings. How much money have you saved for a down payment so far? 63% of the people that responded to this survey by Apartment List said 0.
And are these only millennials? Yeah. Okay.
These are only millennials surveyed.
Yeah.
15% said less than 10,000, which, if your average purchase price around the country is running up into the 400s.
That's average loan amount.
Yeah, that's not gonna get you
It
down
won't
payment.
do it. Not even the loan amount you can cover.
8% said they have 5,000 to 9,000, and then 14% said they had $1 to 5,000. So one of the biggest problems, and this is kind of opposite of what we were hearing before the 2020 pandy that happened. We were hearing that millennials had a lot of money, but they were just choosing not to spend it on housing, and they were choosing to do other things with their money, but that it was starting to turn because more millennials were wanting to buy a house because they were kind of in the next phase of life. Well, now for whatever reason, they're burning through their money, or they've burned through their money. Maybe it was layoffs, maybe not. Maybe they didn't change their standard of living when they lost their job. 18.2% of millennials who don't currently own a home expected to always rent. Now that number is up from 12.3% in 2019 and 10.7% in 2018. So the gain was a lot higher than it was over previous years. Millennials are the largest generation. Their age range is 24 to 39, which I'm about to be that 39 number. Woo. 74% said the reason was affordability was the main reason. They couldn't afford the house. More than double who shared said that they prefer the lifestyle benefits of renting, such as increased flexibility and avoiding maintenance expenses. So there you go. And to find more about this, click on the Inman article, and there's also a link to the actual research. It's 2021 Millennial Home Ownership Report by Apartment List. So what do you think, Dan? Are you kind of seeing the same thing with the millennials that you know? Or are they starting to buy? What's going on with them?
I don't know. I don't know any millennials. I don't know. I literally don't know one. All my buyers
rely on the commenters and the people in Clubhouse.
Okay, so for me, I don't know. I just kind of base my knowledge of my clients based on just kind of who they are. I don't ever summarize them or put them into like a category. Okay, these guys have this much and they're a millennial. But I do have, I guess every client I have right now is a millennial. They're all, because how old are millennials? The oldest millennial right now is Ray at 38, right?
Right, 39 officially, but yeah.
Yeah, and they go to range. My clients right now range from 25 to, as far on the buy side, 25 to about your age. So, I'd say that the savings, because, well, one of them is using they bought a house 5 years ago, and now they're leveraging. They've made a lot of money, so they're using that for their down payment, and then the others have just been saving, living at home. So they have the 20. They wanted to get to, their goal was to get to the 20% down payment. So they have been.
Well, producer Matt is a millennial, and he actually bought a house. I'd love to hear. I'm going to add him to the conversation. I know he didn't plan on. I don't even know if he has a mic hooked up. Producer Matt, I'm adding you to the stream. Do you have friends that are currently thinking about buying, or are they all renting or staying with their moms right now, producer Matt?
Which I'm actually a Gen Z. I'm a Zoomer.
So you're even younger.
Yeah, I think I'm like right on the line. I'm not too sure. I'm 1998, so I'm not too sure. But I know I'm trying to even think if I know anybody.
Wait, you were born in 1998?
Yeah, I was born in 98.
What the dude? So, just so you guys are clear, we've all heard how old Ray is. I was born in 1973.
Yeah, way older.
I graduated high school in 1991.
Yeah, my dad, which he was just in Clubhouse. He was 72. So you're like, you could be my father.
Dude, the producer of our show
could be your kid.
Oh my God.
All right, so Dusty Martin says,
go. I can't.
All right, that's enough, Matt. See you later. Let's see. Dusty Martin says, I'm a Zennial. So one Dan Ludwig kind of. All right, so I'm going to go up to some of these comments that we have. Beth,
this is weird,
Traverso?
Man.
That's Beth Traverso. She says the average homeowner has a lot of equity. That combined with record low inventory, why would an owner in trouble not sell and capture that equity rather than let it go to foreclosure?
Absolutely great point. And kind of what we've said, because my point, and I think it's a little controversial, has been that side of the market would just help level out the market. It would bring more inventory, and no one wants that, obviously. But the other side, then where kind of we go, or where Ray goes, is, but they're sitting on, and what is can you recall the stat? They're sitting on an extra 15%. Yeah, trillions of dollars of equity. So
before the crazy increase in prices that we've had last year, there was $2 trillion in equity available to home sellers.
Yeah. So, and that's a great question. But then the question is, okay, cool. I'm not going to go into foreclosure. I can sell my house and walk with all this equity. What do I do though? I can't I can't go buy a house with it because there's none available, and there's probably not a rental available anywhere. So
solid point.
What do I do? So that's kind of the thing. And I think that's what's preventing a lot of this, because, and then some people may just be waiting. I'm going to wait. I'm still in forbearance, but I still have time. So maybe they're waiting, but I think she brings up a great point. So thanks for that.
Dusty Martin says, my millennials stopped shopping last year because it was, quote, too hard and the inventory was low where they were willing to go. Quote, wait until prices come down. She said, now those homes are 20% more expensive and they can afford the basic house they need, let alone the house they want. So that is part of the problem of taking Susie Orman's advice. If you remember, she said that people should wait. And if you did wait, now you're paying 20% more for your house. We have a commenter coming in from Clubhouse. So Caleb, I'm going to put you up. What are you seeing with your millennial clients? Are they finding stuff? Are they waiting? Have they given up all hope?
Yeah, Caleb LaPlante again in Southern Oregon, right above the California border. I'm 40, so I know millennials, but I don't have a lot in my sphere, but I do sell homes to them once or twice a year. And your commenter said that they have, the ones who bought have equity. And that's what I'm seeing is the ones who've already purchased in their 20s. So maybe 5-10 years ago, they've got equity. And so they're not having a problem. But interestingly, whether they're my clients or not, and I'm seeing them out there active, if they're new home buyers, the rates are allowing them, at least in my market where values are, if you have a 2-earner household, even on a very modest income for each of them, it's almost the same mortgage now as it was 2-3 years ago, even with the 20% increase or whatever it is in each person's market. So they're still buying. If they were able to get the cash for the down payment a couple of years ago in our little market, they're able to still get it. It's just the competition is more fierce. So in your other commenter mentioned, oh, my millennial buyers are giving up. That is, I'm seeing that also because they just get weary and they're like, well, I got other things I want to be doing with my adventurous Instagram life. And so they go do that. But the ones who are have the stick-to-itiveness, they're in there, they're mixing it up and they're getting their house. So that's what I'm seeing in our small community, our rural community.
That's cool. I only take offense partially to your Instagram comment because I've put a lot of work into that bougie Instagram lifestyle as well.
Those are I love those posts so much.
Clayton Fernando Strems, he joins us via Facebook. He says, I heard a millennial and came running. That's right. Melissa Mara says, but I refuse to be placed in that category of millennial, she's saying. And I'm also working on buying another property at the end of the year. Okay, so she's pro home ownership, but she's also pro home ownership, and she's a realtor. So that makes
she's a realtor.
Yeah, realtor. Mike Elizabeth Rodell says, I have younger buyers. They're frustrated with what they want, no repairs because they have no maintenance skills and what's available in their price range. Yep, I'm seeing that too, where they're looking at the inspection report and they just want literally everything because if it was a Nintendo, they could fix it, but it's not. It's a piece of caulking and they don't even know what that is. New Jersey real estate agent Eugene Jaworski.us says, in case of millennials, it's a culture problem. They want to live free with minimal responsibilities to third parties, but families and kids mostly change the game. So they start thinking about savings and home ownership later than previous generations. That's what we've seen too, but it's kind of time for them. I mean, it's time to kind of buckle down, which is what we were seeing pre-Pandy.
Well, and here's I don't know if she got my message, but a contributor to the show and an actual guest on the show, multiple time guest on the show, Marley. It's Marley Presswood. So she shared in her Instagram stories. It says in 2020, some 4.7 million millennials turned 30. Which is generally considered the beginning of people's home buying years, according to data from Realtor.com. I feel like we should own that.
Yeah, it was like 3.8 million, I think, the year before even.
Yeah, and then in 2021, another
Yeah,
4.8 million millennials will reach that. So not get to 4.8 million, another 4.8 million will reach that milestone. Right. So kind of to whose point, who made that point? I guess Eugene made that point, is it's later in life now. Now they're 30, you know what I mean? They're going to start thinking about that.
Okay, so let me go to one of the Clubhouse commenters. Olivia, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what's your opinion on the millennial home buyers?
Hey, Ray. First met you back in Tom Ferry days, one of the events there. So good to see you, and it's incredible to see how far you've come with all your real estate show and everything. But thanks for having me up here. I am 29 in the Maryland, Northern Virginia area, and naturally my primary focus has been those millennial buyers for the past 7 years since I've been in the business. What I've been seeing with my clients is a little bit of what was mentioned earlier, of people that do have equity in their home that I sold 3-4 years ago, and they're able to now take that equity and move up. Question is, where are they going? I'm seeing mostly new construction to where they're confident that they'll be able to sell their home right up until before their home is completed, to be able to make that transfer into their new home without having to move twice. In terms of just general first-time home buyers and down payment costs and everything like that, I try to set up expectations at the very front of what is going on in today's market, and basically getting them to agree up front of are they willing to compete this hard or not, to essentially not allow them to back out or get overwhelmed by the process, because I've hopefully, if I've done my job right, is set their expectations properly up front. And then also don't discount the parents. I mean, like we're saying, that they love home ownership, they value it, and they're coming up big for their kids in terms of funds. Okay, they're bringing mom and dad to showings. I want them, all the decision makers there, anybody that's gifting funds there. And they're like, okay, we need to do whatever we need to do to get this house. And parents are coming in big with gifts.
I have been seeing that as well. So that's really interesting. Sometimes you don't know if it's just kind of your area, or if that's kind of a nationwide thing. So that's interesting to see. I think a couple of years ago, I'd always see the dad come look at it, but they weren't really giving much help. And now they're like, yeah, let's buy it. Here's a cash for your down payment, and here's a cash for the above appraisal value.
Yeah, it's different now, right? It used to be, oh no, the dad's here, he's gonna ruin this sale. Now he's like, no, I'm gonna help you buy.
Yeah, Daddy Warbucks. Yeah. Let's see, David, he brings up a good point. He says some millennials saw their parents lose their home during the first crash, and the memory still remains. I think that's true too, and maybe why some of them have delayed, and they just like the freedom of being where they are now.
Yeah, well, I think there's a growing number of people that are trying to live a little more quote unquote free. Like, obviously we live in a free country, but when you get older, you realize, dude, I am attached. I am constrained by bills and taxes and house and school and kids' school and all this stuff. And I think a lot of people are like, I don't know if I want that. I want to buy a van, build out a van. Right. I can literally work from anywhere. I can
travel the country.
Yeah, I can travel the country. I can get internet from anywhere. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to document my journey on YouTube and get millions of views. And
Melissa Marr said, I just received an offer where the parents are paying all cash for their kid to get the house. Unfortunately, didn't make the cut. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
I've had dad's gift $500K cash to buy the house. Put it in the daughter's name. That's nice. Who's that daddy? I want that daddy. Okay.
Yeah. So my one set of my sellers now bought. They were the ones I mentioned. They're the millennials. They bought 5 years ago, and they had help. Right. And now, because they've made so much on their home, they're able to pay the little help they got back and still put 20% on the next purchase. So it's pretty cool.
So I'm going to go to one more comment really quickly. We have a Clubhouse commenter, probably on the millennial topic. I'm going to go to Jen. If you could tell us who you are, where you're from, and what's your comment on this topic.
Hey, everyone. Jen Mabry. I'm with Keller Williams in Portland, Oregon. To the piece about the parents helping, I often have, our market is crazy. We're running about 3 weeks of inventory right now. And we often have parents come in with cash to buy the house, and then that gives the kids sometimes some time to get their loan stuff together, and then essentially buy it from the parents. That seems to be working really well. Of course, if you have parents who are in the position to do that.
Yeah, for real. I know my parents were in that position, so I'm a little bit envious. Why don't we go to the next? We have a couple of articles to kind of get through fairly quickly, and then we'll have a longer discussion about one, can we talk about Zillow, and two, the Zillow SNL skit.
Yeah, this one's fairly quick.
Yeah. All right, so why don't you hit up the next headline, Dan? Go ahead.
Okay, so this is from CNBC. This is why Google and Facebook are funding prefab home startup factory OS. And I'll give you the summary. It's because they've caused the housing crisis. Big tech has caused the housing crisis. When you watch it, there's a video. This is a short article, but then there's a 10-minute video, which I did watch and grab some highlight from, but I'll read the little article that they have. So again, this is from CNBC. The affordable housing crisis in the United States continues to be a problem, and it's only getting worse. Dun, dun, dun. Nationally, there is a shortage of about 7 million affordable homes for our nation's more than 11 million extremely low-income families, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. So remember, was it Ray? It was not Khan. It was Joel. No, not Joel Kahn. Who was it that mentioned we're 3.8 million homes low?
Oh, Lawrence Yun.
Lawrence Yun, and that's homes. This is specifically stating 7 million affordable homes. So even if 3.8 million came onto the market, they still wouldn't be affordable. There still wouldn't be enough for the, as it says, 11 million extremely low income families. Right. So some areas are worse off than others, with the San Francisco Bay Area, the heart of the U.S. tech industry, among the worst. Factory-built modular homes. So not, we've mentioned on the show multiple times, not 3D printed.
Home, not a 3D printed home.
Right. Factory-built modular. And they're pretty legit. If you look these up, these are pretty cool. They're gaining traction as a possible solution and could reduce the cost of construction by 20 to 40%. Entekra, Entekra, Blue Homes, BLU, and Blockable, BLOKABLE. Gotta have a cool name. They're already using this building technique, while Connect Homes, spelled like Connect, which is led by a former Apple exec, has raised $27 million to do the same. Google and Facebook specifically have invested in another company, Factory OS, which is building affordable homes in the Bay Area. So I started watching the video, and the first thing you kind of notice is it's not necessarily single family yet. It's more apartments and multifamily stuff.
Multifamily prefab home solutions.
Yes. And it's essentially, they build, giant rectangles, giant squares and rectangles and cubes, and put them together. They do it in the factory because 60 to 75% of the cost is in the construction.
Right.
So if they can prefab it and then you just bring it in and start stacking things like some Legos, that's going to bring it down quite a bit. Now, it's not necessarily not using wood. They still have the wood costs and all that stuff, which are higher than they have been. But it also notes that the cost of homes are, rising roughly 10% a year, and the housing market can't keep up. And then the CEO of Factory OS mentions that $800,000 in building costs for new construction in the Bay Area. So just to build a home costs $800,000. You got to sell it for over $1 million, right?
Yeah, at least. So David brings up a good question about the prefabs. How do they stand up against natural disasters? I'd like to ask, we have an expert in the audience who's joined us via Facebook.
Nice.
And she said the topic I talk about all the time, affordable houses. So Christina M. Smallhorn has a YouTube channel kind of dedicated, I would say, to real estate, but also to affordable housing. She talks a lot about manufactured housing and modular homes. So Christina says, yes, modular homes are built to better standards than traditional built homes. So that's interesting. We should have her on the show one time to talk about this stuff, even though she's not a bearded man of real estate. She's a wealth of knowledge, especially on prefab homes. Michael Elizabeth Brodell says, so what lenders are lining up to finance these home solutions for the poverty population? Well, So right now, as Dan was saying, it's more of the investor side because it is multifamily. But I think in the future, you'll start to see more options because there's just so much in the marketplace. Lenders have to turn a little bit.
They have to. It's like anything else. They have to open up to this. And then
if there's enough demand, they will. But that's their concern is the same reason why you're not going to get a loan for a timeshare, right? It's the secondary market. So their concern has always been, well, yeah, we'll let you build that container home and we'll give you the money for it. But then when you have to sell in 2 years, what's going to happen? Is someone going to buy it? Are they going to be able to find financing for it? So that was always the big concern for them, which that's understandable.
Yeah.
But I think as more and more of them hit the market, as more of the tiny homes hit the market and the modular manufactured homes, I think you're going to have more lenders that view them differently, especially if they have a permanent foundation. They're permanent home. Melissa Marr says, I want that printed house. Like we talked about the other day. It was pretty cute. Colin JJ Cameron joins us. Hey, buddy. I don't know if that's Colin or Al Borland. You got to check out his Facebook page to know what I'm talking about there. He said, I hear she has a wealth of costumes, though, and could probably accommodate the beard requirement. Talking about Christina M. Smallhorn. That would be pretty fun. Okay. Michael Elizabeth Rodell says lenders have not opened up to barn dominiums. They haven't yet, but I think they will as the demand is there for the secondary market. I think they will. All right. So let's get to the next article.
Well, I want to say, continue the conversation down low if you guys want, but I want to know thoughts on what do you think this is going to do? Is it going to help the market? Is it going to be a market at all? And then add in the 3D printed homes. Because those, I believe, I think Melissa shared or someone shared that in New York, there was a spot where a builder's building these 3D printed homes. And I believe they're the first of their kind in the United States. And in the area they're building, this 200,000+ or roughly around there was extremely good deal, like a very good deal. So interesting stuff. Continue the conversation down below and on Clubhouse
and in the BMORE contributors group.
Right.
And if you are listening on Clubhouse, we have 2 more short articles to cover. So we got about 10 more minutes of the show, and then I'll kill the show on live. But I will stay on Clubhouse for a few minutes to talk about what we did, how we did, and if you guys have any more feedback, I'd appreciate that too. So our next to last article, Real Estate is Your Sex Now. The SNL sketch skewers people's obsession with Zillow. In particular, millennials, actually. Whenever you watched the video, there wasn't a lot of older people or super young people in there. They were all kind of millennial aged.
Yeah.
And what they did, and Matt, you can probably play a little bit of that as long as I'm talking over it. I don't know if we can have the audio or not, but feel free to bring it up. But what they did is basically compared housing to pornography, and people were having all these passionate responses to late night getting on Zillow. And it's a pretty funny ad. They definitely take those late night infomercial adult ads type thing and turn it to be all about housing, but not specifically housing. It was directed right at Zillow, which begs the question, like, is this on purpose product placement from Zillow? Because they're definitely using the logo and everything. Did they have to get the rights to that? Someone said that the company that put this out, SNL, the parent company for them is the same parent company that has the rights to the Zillow platform. And so they didn't really have to ask, is what I was told. But I would think that somebody in the branding probably asked. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this. If you're in the Clubhouse or if you're watching live, what did you think about the Zillow SNL sketch and people's obsession with Zillow?
Well, and what's really funny is that at the end, when you call, I don't even know her name, let's just say Tina Smallhorn. Hey, this is Tina with Remax. How can I help you? Yeah. And she's like sitting in kind of a call center. She's dressed like your typical realtor. So he's like
Remax agent.
Yeah. And he's like, no. I don't want to buy a house. And then she calls back, hey, this is Tina again. Are you ready to buy a house? And he's back home with his laptop and he's dressed all, it's got the soft lighting. And then it kind of smacks, and it's like, no, you ready to buy a house now? Ready to go. But yeah.
Now they mentioned Remax too in there. So there was brand placement there. There were a lot of Remax agents that were like offended by this, thinking that they didn't have Remax permission. I would say they probably did.
I'm with
But-
Remax, and I think it's amazing. First of all, it makes our brand even more well known. So when they see my signs with Remax on it, they're like, "Oh, dude, from the Zillow thing, you're Remax, not Zillow." That's great.
And they also think that if they hit on Zillow, then they can contact you through it, right? So I mean, that's kind of so a lot of the consumers are looking at that saying, "Oh, okay." I think it kind of gave a bad name to the client. So you remember the NAR commercials back in the day that they were all weird and they were really weird clients, and
I loved them so much.
They were really dystopian almost, and that was a really strange ad campaign to run because it kind of made fun of the homeowner that we're supposed to cater to. This kind of makes fun of the client that we are also supposed to cater to. So I thought that was a really interesting take on it. I don't think it was bad for brand as far as Zillow goes. I don't think it was bad for brand as far as Remax goes. But I wonder if the consumer is going to catch themselves on Zillow and going, I should quit looking. I wonder if it's going to have an adverse impact.
No.
You don't think so?
Well, I don't know. I would go to, how old is the average SNL viewer? Are they even
age, right?
Are they? I don't know.
I mean, there's probably half the people that saw that skit that had Zillow on their laptop that were watching it.
Yeah, they probably had it going like,
oh,
that's cool. They're talking about me. Scroll.
Hey, honey, have you seen this house?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed Christian's comment earlier. Sorry, he was talking about affordable housing. He said, when it comes to affordable housing, I rarely hear people talk about the red tape costs. Specifically in Seattle, I think estimated that there's $100,000 in red tape and government expenses on every new construction home.
Yeah, so that's why people are fleeing the Seattle area.
Right. Fleeing in droves to California, right?
The mass exodus are coming to California, yes.
Let's see. Christina's going to try to pull off a fake beard, by the way. All right.
Yeah, she's played. I used her name, but she's like, I've played that character before. I can pull it off.
Colin said Zillow's stock is up $8 since the weekend skit, so it may have worked. Let's see. Folks are going to be so bummed when they.
Oh, wait. GameStop stock also went way up. So we take that with a grain of salt. We have no idea what Redditors are doing right now.
Mike Elizabeth Rodell said folks are going to be so bummed when they have to talk to Alex. Yes. So if you are in Zillow, then you know, like, this is Alex. I'm connecting you with an agent now. And the person says, okay. Like I'm sure, like, if they call Zillow a lot, they've probably heard Alex say that a lot, or maybe they changed the person. Dan Mack said, I stopped buying New Balance shoes after they made fun of mid-aged dudes wearing them. See? I think there's going to be a segment of people that kind of stop because they're going to be looking at that going,
But then they're going to go, well, I guess the older brand is Remax. I guess I got to go scroll Remax websites.
Wait, what is this? Colin says, in spicy news, Ken Pozak is about to debate Mr. Beer about EXP. I heard about this. So for those of you who don't, I guess we should have put it in the rundown too, that Grant Cardone joined EXP. There it is. So we covered that news article.
Well, they brought him on to prevent the mass exodus that Tim started.
Yeah, Tim, if you don't know Tim, hashtag the Tim Macy show, hashtag white boxing, hashtag. Yeah. He went to a company called Real, and there's just been an outflow, except for Colin. He stayed strong. He's watching the show right now. Okay. Matt Clanton, producer Matt said GameStop is over. Take it from Gen Z. Dogecoin is the future. That's what Elon Musk, that's what he said. Dogecoin is the future. And then he bought 1.5 million or $1 billion of what's it? Bitcoin. Yeah. Dan Mack said he went to Real. All right. So let's Grant.
He's not a realtor.
A realtor. Is he really not?
No, he's not. He's a motivational speaker.
So he just joined EXP on he didn't even have any downline. All right. So let's talk about.
Oh, they probably gave him downline. He's a big deal.
Let's talk about Zillow, or maybe we shouldn't talk about Zillow. So can we as real estate agents talk about Zillow? I'm going to read verbatim an email that went out to one of our BMORE contributors, and she or he, she's going to remain nameless to protect her or him. They said, hey, this is what our board sent us. It says, there's been much discussion over the status of Zillow. This is from the board to all the realtors in the board. Please note that Zillow has made a significant change to its business and is a licensed real estate brokerage in all 50 states. All of Zillow's licensed principals and agents are now Realtors, and as such, members of the National Association of Realtors and subscribe to the Realtor Code of Ethics. Therefore, please be very careful not to criticize or discuss Zillow's or any other brokerage firm's business model outside of your own firm.
Okay, but their business. Okay, sorry, I'll come back to that.
Antitrust laws are very strict and designed to protect competition. What? You can find information on antitrust here. Article 15 of the Realtor Code of Ethics states that realtors shall, quote, shall not knowingly or recklessly make false or misleading statements about other real estate professionals, their businesses, or their business practice. You can check the standards of practice, Article 15, 2001 Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics has more information that can be found here, and there's a link. All right. So I'm going to get back to this Article 15. Shall not knowingly or recklessly make false or misleading statements about other real estate professionals, their business, or their business practices. So can we talk about Zillow? Let's just answer that question right now. What do you think in the comments? What do you think in Clubhouse? Can you talk about Zillow? Mike Elizabeth Brodell said, not now. It's like bashing another brokerage.
But I mean, I mean, okay, but I think you said it, Ray. They are a brokerage, but they also have a website that pushes false information.
Is that a false or misleading or reckless comment, Dan?
No, I can show you the stats right now on their website. Now, I'm not criticizing their business practices. I'm telling you what happens on their website. And we have proof of it where they say your house is worth 350 grand. You go log in and say, I want to talk to a realtor. Now it's worth 325 grand. What happened? Well, and that's their website. Is that different from their business practices? And are those two things the same now? Is a Zestimate, which are never right, and that's not me slandering, they're never right. Is that now part of their brokerage?
We'll get to part of this in just a minute. Christine M. Smallhorn, she says, like the Zestimate is Bolshevik. I can say it because you can provide proof.
Right.
Curtis Lee said, yes, you can talk about Zillow, but it must be factual.
Right.
Clayton
So
Fernando says
they like to kill baby kittens. I can't say that.
Right. So Clayton Fernando Strim says, so does that mean that Zillow can't give net sheets that are clearly false anymore?
Okay, that's perfect. They're essentially giving a false net sheet.
Adam Johnson said, you might want to make this group private. Uh-oh, got a call. Sorry about that, Clubhouse. I got a call. So we're back on Clubhouse now. He said, if it is, yeah. So will Zestimates go away since it falls under a brokerage and we need to be protecting the consumer? All right. So this is my understanding of it. And I kind of need to
look at their
org chart to be sure. But my understanding is that they're going to keep the platform as a separate thing. So there's a Zillow advertising platform and website that supposedly is a separate thing from the brokerage side. Okay. And if that's the case, then you can talk about and reference the website as the Zillow website, separate and apart from the Zillow brokerage. And that's what I've already heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've already heard agents doing. They're saying, now I'm talking about the website platform for advertising and not the brokerage. Now, this is the reason why I think that they're going to keep it that way. Most of the boards across the United States said you cannot sell listings. You cannot sell ads against listings if you're a member of the MLS. Like, I can't take my website and offer Christina prime placement and sell against listings that I don't list her photo, which is exactly what Zillow does on the website, right? Supposedly. Yeah. I don't know about all board rules, but that's some of the early discussion. But if they keep their original Zillow feed separate from the IDX, then it does allow them to do that. So I don't know if they're going to keep that separate or if they're going to join it. I have no clue.
Right.
My main question is, if they keep those companies separate and you are talking about the Zillow platform itself and saying your woes, are you okay as a real estate agent? The second part of this discussion that really chaps my hide is the rule is you can't make false or misleading statements. Basically, you can't defame a realtor or another real estate company knowingly. But their instructions are careful not to criticize or discuss Zillow or any other brokerage firm's business model. That's not the same thing.
It's not.
I can look at the Remax model and publicly say, I think that model is bollocks because agents are paying way too much and they're not getting enough value. And I can talk about the model. I could say that Compass's model doesn't line up with what their original mission statement was. I could say, you could say all that stuff because you're talking about the model. You're not making false statements. It's your own opinion about a business. So I don't understand. And by the way, I don't even know all of Remax models or Compass. I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense to me that they say you can't criticize or discuss a business model. That seems to be a healthy thing in most other industries, to look at another business model and critically think about it and discuss about the pros and cons of this business model that this other company is doing. Now, some people say, well, I don't really care what the competition's doing. I'm just going to put my head to the grind and just do my own thing. Well, that's fine, but you may miss out on some innovation that's happening in the marketplace if you don't raise your head up and see what's going on. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts if you're in the clubhouse, or we got some comments rolling here. So Curtis Lee said Zillow versus Zillow.com. Michael Elizabeth Riddell said, does a consumer understand the difference between Zillow, the marketing platform, and Zillow, the brokerage? Heck no, they can't. I agree with you, but is it Zillow's responsibility to make that distinction clear, or is it us as a real estate agent or realtors to make that distinction clear? I don't know that answer either. I know whenever we applied for our licensing as our own brokerage, we had to be very clear and clearly distinct and different from other stuff in the marketplace. Christina M. Smallhorn said, they'll promote their agents on top of that website as their premier agents. Total bull hockey again.
Total bollocks.
Christina Smallhorn also says if they openly show their model, we should be able to talk about it.
Well, okay. I want to go back to Clayton's point.
Go up to it.
I believe it was. So does that mean that Zillow can't give net sheets that are clearly false anymore? I've never really thought about it that way. They're essentially, a Zestimate is a net sheet, right? So let me ask the question this way. Can I right now in my farm of 743, which is just north and south of where I'm sitting right now, 743 homes, can I just send out a blanket net sheet saying your house is worth this? I don't know. Can I do that?
Well, I know you could do a comparative market analysis saying it's just an estimation, but it's not it's clearly not. I think you can't say value because you're not an appraiser. You can't say this is your home's value. I think you could do a net sheet and say this is maybe about what it would sell for.
So is that why a Zestimate gets around that? They're not saying it's a value. They're saying this is a Zestimate, which is a made up word.
The word is the word estimate.
Right. I know exactly, but it's zesty. So
I'm going to do erasemates to all my.
Yeah.
Would you like a erasement for your house?
Yeah, it's a danstimate.
Yeah, danstimate. I actually like that. That kind of does work, and you can have like a picture of you dancing on top of it. It's a danstimate.
Just like yeah.
All right,
but that's what I want to know is if I just sent, and by the way, knowingly false, I sent it out. Your house is now worth $582,000 when it's really only worth $522,000. Can another agent criticize what I've done, saying he's sending out misleading net sheets?
Right.
So two parts. Can I send that? I can send out a market update that says homes are up this much, blah, blah, blah. Your home may be worth more. But can I say 123 Main Street, your house is now worth this?
So I guess that's different. Like, what can they say to the consumer versus what can we say about them or they say about us? That's kind of the question.
Well, then, yeah, the second part of that question is then can if all of a sudden the other agents I compete with says, whoa, he's sending out misleading information, can he criticize me?
So Curtis Lee says the preamble of the Code of Ethics says realizing that cooperation with other real estate professionals promotes the best interest of those who utilize their services.
Cooperation.
Right? So that's the first part of it. They're basically saying that if we as agents all cooperate, it's in the best interest of the consumer, right? Realtors urge exclusive representation of clients. Okay, that's fine. Do not attempt to gain any unfair advantage over their competitors. Well, that's weird. because real estate agents do that all the time. And they refrain from making unsolicited comments about other practitioners. So is that practitioners or is that brokerage models? Because I view those as totally different things, right? So if Dan worked for Zillow and I said, oh, Dan is a shyster, but that would be a reckless, unfounded, potentially false comment about Dan, the practitioner. But if I said, I don't really think Dan's business model is best for the consumer, is that reckless?
Yeah. You're fine with me as a person, but not my business model.
You're a good guy. Your model stinks.
Your model's horrible.
Right. And they refrain from making unsolicited comments about other practitioners. In the instances where their opinion is sought or where realtors believe the comment is necessary, their opinion is offered in an objective and professional. Wait, second part. Oh, okay. That was it. Professional. Okay. So that it goes on from there. So
if they believe the comment is necessary, I mean, that opens up the door, right?
So my good friend Glenda Baker, in full disclosure, I'm going to get to you. Christian is joining us from Clubhouse. I'm going to get to him in just a second to bring him up. But my good friend Glenda Baker says that there is a little overlap in their business that could be problematic, because if you're a data broker and you're providing data to people on what their home values appear to be, but you're also a home buyer, it appears to be a bit of a maybe the best interest of the consumer is not in that, right? So that's kind of her argument for that. And maybe that is, maybe that isn't. So for me, I still use Zillow because I think it's a good advertising platform, and a lot of people go to Zillow, and I want to be sure that my clients are on Zillow. My sellers, they're going to be listed on Zillow as best as I can get them, because consumers go there and they look at property there. And in my opinion, it would not be in the best interest of me as a real estate agent, and I could not represent my clients well if I withheld their listing from a platform in which tons of people go and shop for a house. That does not make sense either. So I still utilize Zillow as an advertising platform, and I still get leads from Zillow. But one of the first things I do is say, look, like 60% of the listings on there, you can't buy. But that's not really Zillow's goal. Their goal is not to provide consumer information. Their goal is to provide a lead to a real estate agent. And I don't really believe that they're out to try to replace real estate agents. I think they're out to partner with real estate agents. And I think they're probably going to have a giant sucking sound of the bottom hat of the real estate agents, the bottom part of the real estate agents that may not cut it, right? They're going to suck them into their company, but they're going to find out it's going to be a lot easier to give leads to these top teams that already have everything in place, that already have the accountability streams in place. They know how to work it. They know how to do it. And I think Zillow has already seen that that's a lot easier. Right. So personally, and a lot of our show is playing devil's advocate and just talking about what other real estate agents are talking about. But personally, I don't think they're after our jobs as real estate agents. I still think it's a good platform to buy their entire database. So I'm collecting everyone I can that they send my way. We don't have Flex in our area right now, but if we did, from what I hear, it's an even better program. I'm not really worried about Zillow. And everyone's like, oh, you're crazy. You should be. I'm not. I'm worried about, Miss Ethel down the street that may be thinking about selling their house. And I know her because she lives just down the street and I haven't said anything to her in a couple of days. Right. So that as long as I'm working my sphere, which is the number one lead gen source that I have, then Zillow won't be able to touch my sphere. But if Zillow starts working my sphere, then that's a problem. And Zillow will, because they're going to send them emails as soon as they show up on their website, and they're still going to go around and market to them. So I also have to market to them. So Mike Elizabeth Riddell says it's the responsibility of the National Association of Realtors and state commission associations to protect the consumer, and allowing Zillow to have separate entities, one that has false information and one that is licensed, and expect normal people to understand which are different is ridiculous. I think that may be a problem in the future. Yeah. Another problem that we've talked about in the past is how they're closely knit and tied to the MLS as realtors. Like, you have to join Realtors to be on the board. And we've been talking in the past how that may not continue, that the MLS may split from the board to allow more competition and more people with a general real estate license. I would totally see that happening. And
that would be amazing. And we could have, maybe a national website where all of our listings are held.
That would be cool.
Weird.
Pete says, no, you're literally never allowed to criticize another agent. It's against the hallowed code of ethics. You're not allowed to criticize another agent if it's false or misleading, or if you're reckless with it.
Right.
But are you allowed to talk about the business model of another agency? That's interesting to me that they wouldn't let you talk about a business model, because I feel like that, like, here's what this agent does to service their clients, and that's probably not the best way. Is that wrong?
Well, okay, so let's just take the we have a lot around here, you know, I'll sell your house for 2%, meaning total. So when I compare what we do, and you get this laundry list of
Right.
you get this CVS receipt of services from me and my team, right? Or me and our
Right.
team. And then when you go sell your house for 2%, you get like, well, we'll put it on the MLS, and then you have to fill out your own forms. You don't get a transaction coordinator. You don't get max market exposure. You don't use, there's no lockbox. It's a combo box that anyone can get into. There's no showing time. There's no security. Like, am I criticizing them, or just saying beware of this, because it sounds like a great deal, but you're actually getting less. And I can guarantee you by showing you numbers that you are going to net less money.
Or so I think this needs to be cleared up, honestly. As Zillow's entered, that's kind of the flag I think that you can fly to say you guys should clear up this part in the code of ethics, because boards are saying don't criticize or discuss a business model when the code says.
But my job's also
knowingly make reckless or false misleading statements about another professional, their business, or the business practices.
Okay, but what I'm doing is it's also my duty, my fiduciary duty, to protect my sellers, right?
Right.
So I'm protecting them by showing them that if you do this and pay a full commission, you're gonna net this much more money. And here's all the stats of my team's last 1,000 sales.
But that would be fine, because you're just pointing out your own. It's when you point out the other side and explicitly mention the agent or the brokerage, I think that's what would get you in hot water. So explicitly mentioning Zillow's model as being ineffective would get you in hot water.
Ray's not saying that. He said it would.
I'm not. I mean, I already told you, like, I personally use it. So, you know, maybe one day they'll try to take over the world, but when they do, I'll pull out at that time.
Yeah.
All right. So Pete Thorpe said it makes us look whiny if we have to keep pointing out how terrible Z is. Yeah.
Does it though? Or are we just, because Ray kind of mentioned it to Gladys down the street, if he doesn't reach out to him and reach out to her and give her, you know, the knowledge of what proper service looks like, she may go with an iBuyer program and get more, you know, royally screwed over.
Right. All right. So you guys discuss in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube later, let us know what you think. Can you criticize another brokerage's business model?
Yes.
Can you talk about what they're doing if it's not effective for the consumer, if you're worried about the consumer? Or is it like what Curtis said, you shouldn't offer unsolicited comments, but if it's necessary, offer the opinions in an objective, professional manner. How do you do that? We'd love to hear more of your thoughts there. And I want to go to Christian, who's joining us via Clubhouse. He's been waiting patiently as we've had this discussion. We got someone else with their hand up. Oh, Christina M. Smallhorn is in Clubhouse. Heck yeah. Okay, so Christian, what is your take on this Zillow thing? Can you talk about it? And be careful if it's no.
Hello, gentlemen. So when you guys mentioned earlier in the show about this estimate essentially providing consumers with an inaccurate net proceeds sheet, I have never thought about that way. If that's true, I mean, isn't Redfin also doing that? Because they also have their version of those estimates on their website. And they've been a brokerage from the very start.
That is a valid point. And then there's also these home valuation sites that pull data from wherever. Would they also be in the same hot water? Is that something that you can offer based on the data? I would say in Zillow's defense, they're going to say no, because there's disclosures all over the place. This is just an estimate. It is not an actual home valuation, and you should see an appraiser, blah, blah, blah. Redfin probably has the same disclosure. I haven't looked at their website specifically. Realtor.com, I think they do some home valuations too.
Yeah, because they have always read the end user license agreement. We all read that.
Right. I think they probably have their legal bases covered.
Yeah.
I think the question remains that even if they legally aren't in trouble with it, is it good for the consumer to see this information that is not wholly accurate? And maybe they'll become more accurate now that they are a member of Realtor, now that they do have access to an IDX feed. Will they use that information to get more accurate home values? I would hope so.
So can I say things like I want to know what's up with the Coldwell Banker logo and why it looks like a military superpowers, like a, you know, foreign. Can I ask that question? I'm not saying it is. I'm just, can I ask that question? Why does their logo look like that? Can I ask that?
Well, now I don't know.
Yeah. Can I ask why C21? Those agents still wear those weird gold jackets? Can I ask that?
Do they really? No, I don't think you can now, because that would be a business practice. Okay, Christina, I'm trying to bring you up, but you have to, on your side, say, okay, bring me up. Maybe Matt in the room can also do it, because sometimes Clubhouse isn't the most smooth thing. So in order to get you up, I'm gonna have to do a couple of little things there. All right, I invited you to speak. Christina M. Smallhorn in the comments in Clubhouse, join us. I can't get you up here. Matt, can you try to add her? She may be on the phone.
I'm trying. I can like hear her on my side, but I can't. I can hear her. I don't know why it won't move her up to the speaker line.
Oh, there she goes. All right, there she goes. I got her up there. Okay. All right, Christina M. Smallhorn joined it. I had to pull to refresh in order to get it up there. So she is now up with us. Christina, what's your take on this?
I just wanted to ask, so they're not going to be using the website that they currently use to get leads to other agents. Well, how are they going to guarantee that they're not going to be putting their agents ahead of other agents that are paying for that spot? And then if that's the case, how can we not, if it obviously is something that they're doing, how is it that we're not supposed to say anything about it because we're talking bad about their brokerage?
Yeah.
You know, like, I just feel like that's a muzzle.
I mean, that is the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I would say so. That is the large fella in the family photo that we were talking about earlier.
800-pound gorilla.
And I think Zillow's probably going to have a good answer for it. I don't know that they've thought through all of that yet. I think they're kind of new at the becoming a broker, but supposedly they're like, I've heard rumors of people saying, yeah, they're going to get sued because they do this practice and that practice. And it's always like this real obscure thing that they could just, if that's not allowed, they could just change that with a click. And some of those things that they're talking about are things that, like, that's on my website too. So I don't, I feed directly from the IDX. So why would mine be in trouble for some of those same reasons? So I don't really think anything is going to come down on Zillow. I also don't really think that anything is going to come down on an agent talking about the Zillow platform as an advertisement. But as realtors, playing nicely in the sandbox doesn't mean not looking out for the consumer. So this is not talking about explicitly Zillow, but if anyone in our marketplace is not doing what they're supposed to, especially if you have evidence, you have to report that as a real estate agent to your board of ethics, because or your board and the ethics, whatever. Because if you don't, you're at risk of the entire industry being affected by the bad reputation of a few.
Yeah. So if I don't report it,
I like Zillow. Yeah, there you go. You're unethical now if you don't report it, because that's really not good for the consumer. So if you believe they're doing something bad for the consumer, then you need to look into it, and then you need to turn them in. But in my opinion, I think they have all the legal bases covered. I think their website so far has been pretty good for the consumer. It's generated thousands and thousands and thousands of leads for agents across the country. It's connected me to people. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. They're becoming a brokerage to supposedly better serve the consumer. So for me, it's let's wait and see what they do and how they do it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Dan, would you tell everyone where they could find you?
D Ludwig Rocks, DLUDWIGROCKS. You got to go over to Instagram. It's really the only place I post.
Yep. And I am on the Insta, Ray Zorback, RAYZORBACK. You can also find me on Clubhouse. I'll try to hang out for a couple of minutes. I also have to deliver some paperwork to one of my clients. We went a little bit long today, but I appreciate the feedback. Thanks so much for joining us on Clubhouse. Thanks for joining us on Facebook.
Go subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, y'all need to go to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So hit subscribe and hit the bell. If you're on Instagram, you can also hit the bell now at the top right, and it'll notify you whenever we go live or whenever we post some of the BMORE chops that we have coming out. So thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.